The other big headline, of course, has to do with Okoth Obado, the Migori governor, who was in court yesterday hoping to be granted bail, but Justice Jesse Lesit had other plans in mind. 10 more days, governor accused of murdering his girlfriend walked into court a bullish man yesterday, high-fiving friends and looking forward to freedom. The judge had other ideas. Now he'll have to spend more time in remand prison until October the 8th. That's more than a week. That's over 10 days. Just a lawyer, probably because we're getting very different information. I've not been in remand prison, and I do not hope to ever go there. But when it gets to this point, when you have to spend 10 plus days behind bars in remand prison, not in police custody, does it mean that you change even your way of dressing, or are you still allowed to use the normal attire?
Well, you remain with your own clothes, and maybe if the prison warders are kind enough, they may allow your relatives to visit you and give you a change of clothes. But what is most important is under our new constitution now, murder is bailable. It's a bailable offense.
Yes.
But you'll find now there is a new trend within the police and judiciary that the police conveniently arrest you on a Friday when they know now the next appearance in court is on Monday. And then you are denied bail by police, because police can even release you on bail, and you are an individual cannot disappear. Of course, murder is a very serious matter. And then the moment you appear before the court, you are first of all remanded back to police for a few other days, detained now through the permission of the court. And then you'll be detained again for an offense which is bailable. It is up to police to have completed the investigation up to now, and you have to really prove that if Obado was to be free now, he's going to interfere with the investigations. So the court now detains him for another 10 days, of which the Constitution allows him to be free. So although we made the Constitution, I mean,
yet it is a bailable offense, but
it's a bailable offense. Yes.
Bail in this instance is not an absolute right, is it?
It's not an absolute right. It's got to be argued. But a lot of times the reasons are not compelling. To me, I see it like a way of the courts punishing people. You remember like the Mudhama case and Junet Mohammed I mean, there is nowhere Junet Mohammed would have run to, but he was detained further in Pangani police station for several more days to appear in court. And the matter now, you never hear more of it. So the only conviction Junet Mohammed would have gotten was those 4 days. In the event Obado is released in this matter, the only conviction he would have had would be these 10 days he has been in custody.
And of course, it should be stated that Dan Manzo is a lawyer, so that he's of course speaking as a person of interest in as far as probably his clients may be concerned. But a lot of questions, and before I come to my other panelists, a lot of questions have been raised. And even one of my panelists yesterday hinted that even though Governor Okoth Obado is behind bars, he may not necessarily be experiencing the kind of hardship that other inmates do experience. And that has been captured on today's cartoon on the Daily Nation, page 14 cartoon. Common Mwananchi in remand, a picture of someone living in very dehumanizing conditions, being mistreated by the prison warders, and you can actually see even a bucket there, no food and all these things. On the other hand, VIPs in remand, actually sitting in something like a jacuzzi with air conditioning and a television and a proper toilet and enjoying some very nice food. I know you have clients who could be in remand, but is this a reality?
No, the cartoon has exaggerated it. If this were to happen the time Mudhama and Junet were detained, they would have had all the facilities they wanted on earth. But I can assure you the conditions were the same. What we need to do with our own jails and cells, we have to improve them such that they are to international standards. You see, the cartoon may reflect what could be in the international court. The convicts in the international courts or in other countries have some comforts, but I can assure you not in Kenya. it is as hard as
it can get. Are you telling us that even Okoth Obado, the governor of Migori, is
yes,
enjoying the same...
He is going through a very difficult...
He's
going through what any other prisoner will go. I can assure you, I've been in those places. I've been in the cells visiting clients. I've been in that area. I can assure you the remand conditions are the same.
Honorable Kirwa, do you agree with Honorable Manzo that every remandee, in spite of their status, enjoys or gets the same treatment behind bars?
Well, I experienced the same during one-party system. No, it was not one party, it was already multi-party. When I was arrested in a public rally, taken to Kapsabet police. What I realized that they removed one shoe and they gave me one. And the most agonizing thing is that there was no pillow, because I'm used to pillows myself. So I had to use a shoe, and I tracked...
The one shoe that you had?
One shoe that I had, and I tracked about 17 kilometers. So the shoe had a lot of foul smell. And therefore, it was not really the best of places to go. And I was a member of parliament at that particular time. So I don't think they're in better conditions, but at times the police may choose to allow somebody to be away from the rest of the individuals. And for somebody like Obado, my worry is that you might be taken in, and somebody who is already squeezed in, who might even suffocate you at night. So I think it would be in the interest of public, even justice, that he is isolated for purposes of ensuring that foul play is not played on him. But on the issue of bail, I think the bail is contingent on certain conditions, that you do not constitute a threat to any justice that is going to be meted on you. And I heard Justice Lesit yesterday talk about the possibility even of preferring other judges on the governor, including what the public has been saying, that because 2 lives were lost, life of Sharon and the life of the fetus, therefore there may be another charge against Governor Obado. So I think we should allow that flexibility, but of course, given the fact that murder is not anything that you plan, but if it is a case that so-and-so stole money and they have been investigated and is in, the investigation should have completed. But you know, when it comes to issues of murder, it was almost spontaneous, and the murder of Sharon took a very high national profile.
Yes. Do you believe that everyone, including members of the National Assembly who sometimes get behind bars, are treated the same way? Probably not in police custody. When you're taken to Gigiri police station, Muthaiga police station, the situation could be the same. But once you get to remand prison, because this is a totally different situation, this one is unlike being in Muthaiga police station, where you can get access to some people. This one, the conditions we understand are a bit harsh. Do you believe that Governor Okoth Obado is being taken through the same kind of treatment as any other inmate?
Thank you, Fred. Before I respond to that issue, I wanted to observe that, like my colleague has already pointed out, there's a culture or a tendency by the police to arrest you on a Friday and to hold you, until the following day. And in my view, I think that the police are still suffering from the hangovers of the dictatorship Moi regime, where they feel like once you're a suspect, you really should be harassed, you should be even condemned, even before your case is determined. So I think this is very unfair, and as members of parliament, we've been complaining about this. We are even thinking of having a legislation that prevents you from being arrested on Friday. I think it's something that we need to do.
That's a different argument, and we'll come to that.
Let me observe that there are some police stations that are conducive, that are better than the others. If you go to Kileleshwa police station, the environment is different. I recently was there to visit a colleague who was being detained there. And I saw that if you go to the back, you find that there's a space where you can even meet people, and many people, and you can talk. And even I think the remand cells are even better. There's fresh air. So I think there are a few isolated cases where some police stations that are very conducive, where I think some leaders have been taken. Kileleshwa is one of them, and I also think this one where Gigiri, is it Gigiri where the governor was?
Yes, but now he is at the industrial area.
So industrial area, I think Gigiri is even better because you even saw when his defense team were asking the judge to remand him at that police station, not at Indasolera. It means that police station is conducive. So I think in this one, at Indasolera, this one is of course not very good, and I'm sure that he's not really having the best of it. So the truth is that there are police stations that are not very good. There are others that are very good.
Do you agree, for example, with this
to some extent,
depiction in the cartoon that common Mwananchi in remand vis-a-vis VIPs in remand?
I agreed with it to some extent, and
that
I think
VIPs get special treatment.
And I think it needs to be like this, because if
oh, you think VIPs should get better treatment?
Yes, they should, because of the a governor is a public officer, is an elected leader, is a person in charge of the people. He's not an ordinary person, and because this case, we have a lot of interest in this case. The country has a lot of interest in this case. The best thing that needs to happen is the governor needs to be protected, needs to be given a very good environment, so that the case can go to the conclusive end, and then we can get justice as a people. And remember that recently we had cases where some suspects were being even murdered in police custody. So this calls for a situation where we need to have a special arrangement for high-profile people involved in these cases. It is something that
some level of luxury.
In fact, this is something that I would like to support. Yeah, because a governor is a sensitive person. What about if he's taking an environment where he even collapses and dies? What will happen to this case? So I think the leaders, they are used to certain lifestyle, and when they're being prosecuted, we want justice to happen. And these people, the biggest thing that really would shake the case is if this governor would be in a situation where he's not there.
As a lawyer, do you agree with that statement that VIPs should get better treatment?
No, I want to say that what should happen is there's what we call rights of an accused person. Any accused person should have rights. You saw the other day that a gentleman who allegedly shot a CEC from Garissa while in custody. He died in situations which were still being investigated. It was not clear whether he was killed or whether he committed suicide. It should be the same. You see, when the governor is in custody and I know what happens in cells, he's left with the people there. He may meet a relative of Sharon there, or a fan of Sharon, and they may make justice to him there. Yes. And you find now the person you thought you were keeping in custody to be able to go through a trial.
But that could happen to any other inmate.
That's why I was talking of the young man who died recently in custody. But we are saying all prisoners, all people in custody, we have to make sure that their security is guaranteed. But the situation right now is you can't really guarantee their security. In fact, the moment you are in a remand prison and you are together with the other prisoners, it's upon you now to make a good relationship with the inmates you find there. If you go there and you know there is another system there whereby the inmates deal with each other and the people, who are supposed to take charge of this situation are outside there or even are not able to control. Remember, some of these people in custody are hardcore criminals. Yes. And you have to really have to find a way of living with them in custody.
Wow. But you don't necessarily agree that there should be some level of luxury?
All Kenyans should be treated the same. All Kenyans should be accorded equality by the law. But I'm saying the conditions, conditions for all people in custody should be improved such that they still go through humane conditions.
They should be the same. That general conditions should be improved, not just for VIPs.
Fred, if you have the people I would call chokoras in the cells, and you want to take a governor to in the cell with the same people, what are you saying? So I think I really disagree with the notion.
Should we have special remand prisons for the VIPs?
I think we need to. We need to, so that and for the reasons I've already given, that some of the cases where the VIPs are involved are of course high profile. Yes. And the cases that are going to shake even the justice system. Yes. So we really need those cases to be these people.
Honorable Kirwa, you see why Honorable Atandi always gets into trouble with many people on social media. Do you agree with him that probably VIPs should be granted special treatment inside remand prisons? That probably there should probably even be a special remand unit for VIPs?
I agree with him to the extent that high-profile individuals should be isolated in the sense that they can attract the wrath of the members of the public unnecessarily. I remember a number of individuals who have died in custody, including Otieno Ambala, who I'm told a lot of times he was shouting for help because the guy was hypertensive. But nobody attended to him until they found that he had already died of hypertension, and yet he had been accused of killing Owili Ongiti, in another member of parliament. So some of these things, we should look at it with some kind of historical benefit, that individuals like Governor Obado should not really be given luxury as five-star treatment, but should be isolated from the rest of the people who are suspected. As Mheshimiwa said, some of them are hardcore criminals, and there are dealings that happens in such places. I'm told, I've not really witnessed, where people are even sodomized in custody by some of these hardcore criminals. So imagine Governor being sodomized, and some of those things will really not be something good. I remember even in Kapsabet, whatever I referred to, we were taken to another cell with the Kipkorir Menja, who was co-accused, while the other criminals, we only met in the morning when we were being served a cup of porridge. Otherwise, at night, the two of us were isolated, kept away from the rest of the criminals or suspects.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the cartoon on the Daily Nation today paints a picture of different worlds for people behind bars. Common Mwananchi in remand, living in squalor, dehumanizing conditions, and VIPs in remand living in luxury with TVs and air-conditioned cells. Do you agree that this should be the case? Honorable Samatandi seems to agree that yes, people of the status of governors, members of parliament, cabinet ministers and the like should enjoy some level of luxury even behind bars.
That's not my statement.
Some level. You want to change your statement?
No, I didn't say that they should enjoy luxury.
Clarify.
I say that the environment in which they should be remanded should be different. And
different in what sense?
Should be a bit better, because as the example that we have
a bit better.
The example that we have been given by Honorable Kirwa,
do you agree?
is that some of these people are really having some. They're even sick.
Okay,
they have some diseases that
I'll use your words then. Yes. Do you agree that the conditions for people, for VIPs, should be a bit better than those other people held behind bars in remand prison? Do you agree with that statement by Honorable Samatandi? You can text us 22422. You can tweet us at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Daybreak. Let's take a break. When we come back, we discuss something else. Oh, I understand we do not have a break right now, so we'll just continue the discussion. Now let's move on to issues about what's happening in Migori. Up until yesterday, of course, the anticipation was that Okoth Obado was to be granted bail, and he would have gone back and continued with his job as county governor, even as the investigations continue. But now we see he will spend 10 more days and then apply for bail again. Whether or not he'll be granted, we still do not know. It raises a question. For how long should, and I know the law is very clear, the presumption of innocence until proven guilty. The fact that you cannot remove a governor from office until all legal avenues have been exhausted and all avenues of appeal have been exhausted. Even if convicted, he still has an opportunity to get all avenues of appeal, and until that is exhausted, that is when you can actually remove him from office. But even if he was not to resign, do you think that a person in the position of Governor Okoth Obado should at this point probably step aside, not resign, step aside from his post as a county governor until he's able to resume his duties, probably after he clears his name, or probably after he's released from custody? And that is a big question we're asking.
First of all, let me say that I've followed closely the prosecution process of Governor Okoth Obado, and let me observe that I'm very happy with the way the police and the DPP have so far conducted themselves. I have seen that the prosecutor in charge of this issue in court is very thorough, sometimes to the extent of coming out like stronger than the defense lawyers. And I also support the prosecution when they argued that the governor needs to continue to stay behind the bars for some time because of the nature of this case. Yeah, so I think to this extent, I think I'm very happy, and I think you have a feeling that we are going to find justice in this issue.
Yes.
Going by the way the cases are being, the people are being apprehended, and the way they are pronouncing themselves in court in this matter. But what I wanted to say is that, you know, these are elective and political positions. They are not appointed positions. And so to this extent, I do not think that this is the right time for the governor to step aside. Maybe he needs to probably hand over to the deputy to continue running the show, you know, so that the deputy can be an acting governor officially, the way the president did when he was going to the ICC and handed over the reins, the instruments of power.
Aren't you saying the same thing, probably in different words?
Yes, I think but this can only happen once he's out. You know, once if he's going to be out, I think the best thing he needs to do is to go to Migori and say that I want to fight my case.
Yes.
I officially hand over to the deputy to be the acting governor.
So you feel that should be the case?
That should be the case until this issue is cleared. And we also would like to ask the judiciary to give some of these cases priority so that they're done away with within a short time. And
what we're talking about is not provided for in law, because the law only provides for the removal of a governor upon conviction and upon exhausting all avenues of appeal. But you're saying that it's a matter of integrity. It's a matter of county matters still have to go on. We do not know how long he will be held. He still faces another charge of related to fraud. He could be rearrested. Yes, it could mean that probably for a month or so he's away from Migori County. He himself expressed the kind of challenges he's facing after these accusations came up, that he's not even able to go to his office to attend to matters of the county. Don't you think that it is time, even probably we relook at the law so that to allow such an individual to step aside, probably officially hand over to his deputy until he's able to clear his name, then he can resume his position?
Yes, first of all, the reason he has a deputy is such that the deputy takes over the moment he's away. Like right now, he's in custody, so obviously, under the law, the deputy should be in charge of the matters of Migori. But at the same time, any public officer charged with a criminal offense automatically steps aside.
Even an elected official? Because that's the other argument.
It has not happened with elected official, but public officers, all of them. And you know, an elected official is to a good extent a public officer. That's the law which applies. All civil servants, anybody in a public position who gets arrested and charged for that particular moment steps aside. And in fact, he's on a half salary till they clear their case and they are either convicted or they are released. But even after the first conviction, you must appreciate that assuming now Obado is to be convicted and he gives notice to appeal, even by the time the typing happens and by the time your appeal is heard and by the time you are released on bond pending appeal, it may even take 6 months. A lot of people stay in custody for a long time waiting for their appeals to be processed. So I think I agree with you, we need to relook at the law again. You know, for the benefit of the public who is being served by this particular officer, should you step aside or what exactly should happen? I think should come out definitive, because if I'm a member of parliament and one of my roles is representative, when I'm in custody like him, am I still representing the people? Am I working for the people? what is happening to the people. At least for governors, they have a deputy. For the president, he has a deputy. But for the other elected officials...
We know the kind of relationship governors have with their deputies. Even the instruments of power, if at all there are any at the county level, are not that accessible to the deputy. When Governor Okoth Obado was arrested, it was not something arranged. So probably he did not have time to actually brief his deputy for this job. But don't you think that when it gets to this point, when you cannot tell how long this person will be indisposed, will be unable to attend to his duties, that probably there should be a process of ensuring that he hands over the reins to his deputy up until the time that he is cleared or he's able to resume his job, and it's automatic. Once he's cleared, he just goes back and he continues as governor.
Yeah, I think our constitution is going through a very interesting period, and that's why we've insisted all the time that we need to do an audit of the constitution. 2010 up to now is about 8 years, and it's good such cases are coming in, such that when we do an audit of the constitution, we are faced with the stark realities that are happening now. The main dilemma and the main predicament for many governors is that deputy governors are almost like personal assistants to the governor. They do not really seem to have substantive power in terms of how even they got into office. At times people focus on the governor almost at exclusion of who is the deputy governor.
And he's the only one who can sign a few things.
Yes, and that is where we go wrong. I think good manners should prevail upon us, that if you are not in a position to serve the public, allow the public to be served by somebody else, and in this case the deputy governor, until such a time that you are able to come back. And I think in future, as we look at the constitution, we need to relook at some of these issues. But you see, bad manners was created in 2013 when Uhuru and Ruto ran for an election, despite the fact that there was a case of that were bordering on criminality.
But that matter was taken to court, and the court made a determination.
They made a determination, which means if you allowed them to run and they won, they could not step aside immediately after winning. So in terms of discipline and good manners, we set a precedent that now you don't have to step aside. Because how would it have been for both of them to step aside? What you should have done under integrity chapter is to say, you guys, you are not running because you have a case in court. You can run 2017.
Yes.
But now we created a precedent that even if you are a criminal, suspected criminal, you run, you win, and it was like it was a vote against the Hague, and yet the same individuals had said, let us go to the Hague. Let's not be vague. So well, these are some of the challenges that we go through.
Give it to the president. When he was to appear at the ICC on the dock himself as a suspect, he actually officially handed over to his deputy before traveling for that particular issue. But should we have the same expectations for governors? Remember, governors themselves have come out and even suggested that probably for the period that they are in charge of the counties, they should be immune from prosecution.
But
you had that argument.
But you see, Fred, I do want to commend the president for doing that, but I think it was more of state-managed kind of thing. He knew it would come back. Because when the deputy went, did he step aside before going to the Hague for his own case to be determined? These are some of the things that as Kenyans, we are not doing it for individuals in power. We are doing it for posterity. So that in future, we say presidents were set, and this is the way Kenyans should behave.
Okay, on this issue of Okoth Obado, of course, he faces a capital offense, but on other issues like graft charges, because we've seen quite a number of governors facing fraud-related charges. They've come out and said we should probably be given immunity. It's because they believe the kind of role they play at the county is so crucial. They run as a chief executives. They are the people who can sign everything, including payroll and everything. That means that when they are away, facing challenges in court, which could be termed as personal, matters at the county level grind to a halt. Don't you think that this should be relooked at, and probably even a relook at the law itself is necessary at this point?
Yes, I think the law needs to be relooked at for two reasons. One, the way the governors are appointing their deputies. Deputy governors are constitutional officers, but if you look at the way the governors are onboarding their deputies, some of the people that the governors are appointing are basically people who do not threaten their positions. And sometimes the credibility and competence is not one of the factors that they look at. I remember during campaigns, one of the governor aspirants was scouting for a deputy. And we were involved in proposing names. And at the end of the day, the people the individuals that he was considering were people we knew very well did not have political clout, were people who, in his absence, would not be able to manage the political aspect of the office. And so when we change the constitution, probably one of the things that we need to do is that we need to clearly outline the process of onboarding the deputy governors so that we have a way of getting deputy governors on merit. Yeah, so that even if the governor is not going to be in office, the deputy governor is somebody who is enjoying the same status as the governor. That is one. Two, we have this issue of stepping aside when you are facing criminal cases. And I've seen that the application of this law is not fair. Public officers in the executive step aside immediately, they are charged. But the politicians, elected officials continue to serve. Somebody leaves court today, tomorrow is in the office. And I think that aspect also needs to be relooked at. The integrity chapter really should apply equally and fairly on any public officer. So that to the extent that the governor's name has been ruined, the fact that he's been charged means that there's sufficient ground to believe that he was involved in this case.
You believe at this point he should not be running the issue?
In my view, I think it is not in order for Governor Obado to continue to be a governor, even if he's cleared. In my view, I think if we are to strictly apply the integrity chapter of the Constitution, and if we are sure that we are in these offices courtesy of the voters, then this person really should not continue to serve, even if he's going to be cleared in future.
And even the judge yesterday mentioned the fact that in denying him bail, that this is a very influential person, and most of the witnesses are from his Migori political turf, meaning even his position as governor has influence. If at all he had stepped aside, probably, don't you think that probably he would have been in a better position to even be granted bail because he would not have that kind of clout as governor?
Well, while denying or granting bail, each judge has to look at each case and its merits and then make a decision based on that set of facts. I want to agree with Honorable Atande that we have to look at the law so that wherever a public officer is involved in a matter or is a suspect, while one is presumed innocent till proven guilty, I believe one should step aside and properly hand over, because there's an issue of accountability. You see, when he's still serving as governor, when he's in custody, Migori County is going on. Activities are going on. People are being served. Who will be accountable for what happens in his absence? And therefore, we need to relook at that particular law such that wherever a governor is charged, because this is a new position in our legal systems, then what happens? When you are away, when you are in custody, what happens? How do you hand over to your deputy? Because a lot of deputies in Kenya are flower girls. Their role is very peripheral. So we need a deputy who truly is a deputy under the law.
And I've received a lot of flack on social media because I've asked this question over and over this week, because it does raise some serious fundamental questions. Even away from issues of murder, when a governor is accused of fraud-related allegations, probably even charged with fraud, and then released on bail, and you go back to manage the same fund that you're accused of pilfering. Does it really make sense?
Well, I think if we have to be very serious, in some countries, even when something happens that you do not have direct influence, like a derailment of a train, or even a disaster like air crash, some ministers in some countries resign. And in some extreme cases, somebody comes to a meeting 15 minutes late and he says, I can no longer face the public for holding you for 15 minutes. Here in Kenya, a minister may come 2 hours later and he does not even tender apology why he came late. What we need to do is to raise our standards such that if you have a problem like that, we are not saying you resign. You step aside until you are fully cleared for purposes of ensuring that public service continues uninterrupted and influenced by the image. You see, if you are to look strictly at chapter 6, you are supposed to inspire confidence in the public. You are supposed to give, you are a role model, as it were. And a role model, once you are tainted, until you have already removed the blemish, you need not to be in the eyes of the public.
And I'd like to encourage that discussion to continue online, because it is something that we really need to think about. When a county boss is in such a predicament, facing such personal challenges, should he really continue running the affairs of that county? We're not saying he resigns, but should he, for that particular period, at least step aside, leave it to his deputy to continue running the affairs of the county until he's able, probably after being cleared, to take back his position? That you can share your comments with us. 22422 is our text line. You can tweet us at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Daybreak. Time now for a break. We'll be back to look at a lot more headlines.